Hi, this is Nicholas Bell with IONCINEMA, here to review Locked Down, the latest film directed by Doug Liman, which will be available to stream on HBO Max January 14th, 2021. Notably, this film was shot in 18 days, set at the beginning of the pandemic, shot, of course, during the pandemic, and here to premiere as the pandemic is still happening. It was written by Stephen Knight, who of course is a notable director-screenwriter himself, notably with Locke, which I think this film has a lot of similar parameters it's working with, and also Serenity, which Anne Hathaway starred in. Doug Liman, you know him from several Tom Cruise movies such as American Made and Edge of Tomorrow. I think it finds everybody operating on a kind of an unexpected level in material that feels like mid-2000s or early 2000s Steven Soderbergh, and even sometimes has the look of a lot of indie digital videos that is somewhat off-putting but then strangely looks really good in some sequences. It was shot by Rami Adefarasin, who shot the Elizabeth films for Shakar Kapoor, the first of which he was nominated for an Oscar. And I think a shout out is due to for the editor, Saar Klein, who shot the Thin Red Line, or edited the Thin Red Line for Terrence Malick, for instance, because there's so many interesting cutaways and so much compact, tangential information that's really shoved into this 2 hours that is kind of head-spinning. Hathaway is a CEO of a corporation called Miracore, who's in brand marketing, and she has been charged not only with firing a bunch of people. She reports to Ben Stiller. There are also notably a lot of cameos in this. She has to remove a bunch of prized items from this display at Harrods. And notably the film was able to shoot at Harrods only because of the pandemic, because it was closed down, and all of the extras are actually employees there. So those are some very interesting, well-shot sequences. Meanwhile, Ejiofor plays as Paxton, has a criminal history, so that has stunted his professional growth, and he's a furloughed driver. But he gets a call from his boss, Solomon, played by Ben Kingsley, who's having trouble finding drivers who don't have a criminal record, which is now being a requirement for the kinds of merchandise he needs transported. But he trusts Paxton, so he comes up with a fake ID for him under the alias of Edgar Allan Poe, which is one of the more successful, like, truly funny bits in the film. And also reminiscent, Clint Eastwood does that with the Kevin Costner character in A Perfect World, using Edgar Poe as an alias, which I find interesting. There's some, and Ejiofor describes him as a peddler of darkness. Again, the screenplay and the dialogue reflects Knight's strength and weaknesses, I think, in equal parts, which is kind of fascinating. I think the major takeaway from the film is now's the time to watch this, because it's a perfect time capsule / mirror of the times, and I don't know if 5 years from now everyone's going to want to go back and sit in this discomfort anytime soon, but I'm thankful that it was possible to be made. There's a really great scene where Hathaway's drunk and banging pots in the middle of the street as everybody's clapping for the frontline workers, as was happening at a certain time in major cities at the onset of the pandemic. And it also reminded me of all that footage of the Italians doing that, and that Fellini-esque quality that it had. Paxton, to relieve his catharsis, goes and spouts poetry in the street, and he has a line, "I read poetry, I can be someone." Just a lot of interesting little characters that could easily have been cut out of it, and perhaps it's best that they weren't. Lucy Boynton, Ben Stiller, Mindy Kaling, Stephen Merchant, Dule Hill, Jasmine Simon all have kind of little shining moments throughout here. And it just is, I wouldn't say a pleasure of a film, but definitely an intriguing one. And overall, I would give Locked Down 3.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you.
Hey, this is Eric from IONCINEMA.com. If you want to support us, subscribe below. For more reviews, interviews, film festival coverage from Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, you want to check out these guys on this side.